Welcome to Fraud Friday. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking loan fraud, bankers, public officials, and borrowers who got caught. Tee it up.
Well, here we have a couple, a husband and wife, Michael and Tiffany Fullerton, and they landed themselves in some hot water, and they'll be in prison for a long, long time. So this was pretty recent, their sentences. Back in March, Michael Fullerton pleaded guilty to 11 counts of fraud and aggravated identity theft. His wife shortly after was found guilty for 1 count of conspiracy to commit bank fraud and 1 count of conspiracy to commit money laundering. But what really caught my attention with this case is these sentences.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
Michael got 23 years and 10 months, so about 24 years, and his wife, Tiffany, got 9 years.
Wow.
I take it there's a little bit more to this story than your run-of-the-mill PPP loan fraud, Delaney.
Yeah, it's definitely not quite as simple as its face value.
Well, tell us what the face value is.
So these two, along with two others, their former business partner, David Scott Starks, and a former employee, Joseph Roble, altogether they submitted some fraudulent PPP applications seeking $3.7 million. How they did this is they were finding businesses whose registration was expired or had been renewed shortly before they were submitting these PPP applications, and they had been dormant for a long time. So it's your pretty basic fabricated information, documents, payroll, employees. They were using people's social security numbers and etc. without their knowledge. And even after he learned that he was being investigated by federal agents, he still decided to carry on and submit 3 more PPP applications.
Oh my
Because
goodness.
it worked the first time, Lance.
Yeah, I had not heard about this story. The sentences are incredibly long, but probably, suit what I mean, submitting PPP applications after being told you're being investigated, that's pretty gutsy.
Well, and then the day after, we're going to talk about their getting the money, but we have to go to what they bought. I love this. Bob's watches. He got 2 Rolexes for $20,340. And I love the boat name. Her name is Tiffany, so of course, breakfast at Tiffany's. Look at that, Lance.
Oh my goodness.
And of course, that's a nice looking motorhome.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much did he 115K? Yeah, that's a nice motorhome. Bob, it'd be real nice to have one of those to drive around and
Well, you drive it to your boat wearing the watch. I mean, that's what you have to do.
You pull your boat with it, yeah.
Well, they also tried to start a business in Oklahoma. It was a marijuana grow and dispensary, a bar and grill, and an auto and boat repair shop.
Tell us more about Michael. I love those. Let's start with that, and then we'll get into the text, Delaney.
Well, when I first saw this case, I couldn't figure out what led to such a significant sentence until we later learned about some of his behaviors, including he tried to say that he was suffering from a mysterious, debilitating illness. He also said he only had months to live in order to keep pushing off these various hearings and whatnot. He faked a stroke at one point.
None of us are experts on juries, but I gotta think that if you go up on the stand and you answer your lawyer's questions, and then when the prosecuting attorney gets up to ask you questions, not only do you refuse to answer, you call him dishonest. I don't think that strategy is a recipe for success.
Not at all, and he got in trouble quite a few times for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was another key point, and this is quite a list. So his first conviction for theft was in 1993, and he had 12 convictions for theft or theft-related convictions. He was convicted for fraud-related offenses such as tampering with government records, first name false information forgery, identity theft. He had a prior conviction for bank fraud. He got 1.5 years, and after his release, he still violated the conditions of supervised release. Ended up going to jail for another 2 years. He admitted to committing bankruptcy fraud by hiding assets. I don't know why you admit that. And he planned to commit insurance fraud, and he shared that plan as well.
Oh my goodness. See, these had to have been 2020 PPP loans by virtue of this, the average size is about $500,000, which would make it most likely a 2020 loan. In addition to that, the SBA's personal data check that they did would have caught this. It would have caught that.
Yes. As we say, Lance, he was not a good SBA PPP loan citizen.
No, he was not. You know, again, and we're using the same system today for 7A loans when SBA does the compliance check to check the individual borrowers against various databases to find out if they've committed fraud, if they've been sentenced for financial crimes and other things that would disqualify them. And that's why I'm saying this had to have happened in 2020 because what they were using in 2021, I don't see how Michael Fullerton would have ever passed the test to get an SBA loan number.
Lance, you are defined by the company you keep. Mr. Fullerton had we don't know the exact relationship, Delaney. I guess he was a partner. Anyway, he was on the account and the money went into the account, but this Mr. Starks had his bank account levied for child support. The taxes leaned the entire thing. So they were scrambling to get a hold of the money, and Delaney, they had a bunch of texts, but I just, a couple of these were great. He goes, the defendant Fullerton, Texas Starks, we got a second round of PPPs, so I'm supporting COVID. I guess we can figure out what to do with another million or two.
Oh my goodness.
Mr. Starks responded, retire. Fullerton responded, LOL, buy a bigger boat.
Oh my goodness.
But now this is what I like, Delaney. They tried to go into Chase. Chase was holding the money, and Chase said, no, we got this lien for child support. So they go into this elaborate scheme of how to get him off the account, and they come up with a story that, he was just an employee and a signer, and it didn't really work. But I like this, Lance. How would this work for you as a banker? We're going to pick him up at the airport. We'll Uber over, and then, quote, we're going to walk in like we own the place. We're going to get that fraud hold lifted. Once that's done, we're going to transfer all the money to BBT. We're going to take all the documents explaining that Chest effed up when they opened the account, and Joseph was never the owner, just a signer. That's why we're going to take all the money and close the account. And I like this, Delaney, in your future law enforcement career. But to play this card, Joseph needs to be here. Otherwise, it will look sketchy with the computer pinging Tulsa.
Oh my goodness. That's
let me finish this. All that is how Walter said to play it. So that's what we're going to do. Walter's the attorney. Once the money is wired and the account is closed, we are Texas bound. Anyway, go ahead, Delaney.
Well, we've talked about it so many times, but as always, don't commit fraud, but especially don't send these kinds of texts and emails. They can find this, and it will not look good for you.
Yeah, time and time again, you see criminal activity where they text about it back and forth, and often that's the evidence that helps to get them convicted. And it's just like your company cell phone. Everything that's on your company cell phone belongs to the company, and so you want to use good judgment in how you use it. And I'm not saying, Bob, that a criminal should use good judgment, but I'm saying a smart criminal would not be sending texts back and forth like that.
Well, I think too many times we assume criminals are smart and they know how to cover their tracks, and that's not the case. But Lance, so what would you do when someone comes in with attitude? We're going to just we're going to go in and we're going to take over the bank. Like, how would you respond to that as a banker, Lance?
I don't think that any bank is going to be too excited about helping them to open a new account with that kind of attitude. I don't suspect they were. I know they were not successful, but I don't suspect that any bank would comply with their demands given the tone of those text messages.
Yeah, no, it's a sad case. So all his criminal activity, Delaney landed him a hefty sentence, 23 years in jail, prison, and his wife got 108 months in prison. Lance, it goes back to character is the first C.
Yes.
And how people operate is a reflection of the character. And that's consistent. And I think when someone walks in with an arrogant attitude, that is, and they're saying, well, this is your fault and you made these mistakes. That's a huge red flag to stop and assess what is happening. And that's what's amazing is in this situation, I understand bankers are under a lot of pressure, but the fact that these career grifter fraudsters were able to get this much money is unconscionable, but they paid the price, and you're seeing that theme over and over and over. This man had all these levels of fraud, and he said, "Hey, I can get a I can go ahead, Lance. I'll finish up for me."
No, what you're saying, Bob, he did all this prior fraudulent activity, do various crimes, and he, out comes the pandemic program. He's like, hey, let me get some more. Let me do it again. And it just blows my mind because part of the reason his sentence was 23 years, probably a big part of the reason was all the previous things that they had done. And of course, the size of the PPP loan. But this is an amazing story. I mean, I've worked PPP for years. I just had a conversation with someone earlier today. I'm still going to be touching PPP a couple years from now. It's not. It's not. It's not over yet. But this is one of the most interesting stories that I've heard in a long time about PPP fraud.
Thank you for joining us today for Fraud Friday. You can stop criminals from stealing from your bank.
Have a good weekend.
Have a nice weekend.